Okay, if you have been wanting to learn how to make quinoa, today is your day. And not only will you be able to learn how to make quinoa, you can learn what it is, how to make it, and why we would make it, and how you can maybe implement a couple simple recipes into your daily life. I've had a couple people ask me about how to make quinoa, and rather than just posting a recipe, I decided to make a video because I feel like it's a little bit more creepy that I can kind of virtually be in your kitchen with you right now. It's weird for me to think about, but I figured it'd be better than just typing up a recipe. So, and yes, I am hunched over really close to the camera because I have my camera stacked on a bunch of books. And yeah, the light's out because it's fluorescent and it's bright. So let's get down to it. So quinoa, also known as quinoa or quinoa, all the different phrases that people use. It's called quinoa, and it is what we call a super grain and a pseudo grain. So it's a super grain because it is high in protein and fiber, potassium, and iron. There's actually about 8 grams of protein per half cup of cooked quinoa, which is awesome. We call that a nutrient-dense food, meaning it is filled with nutrients. The nutrient to caloric ratio is very high, which is what you want in food. It helps to curb appetite and helps you to fill your body with healthy foods. The other thing is called a pseudo grain. It's a pseudo grain because it's a false grain. It is not a grain, actually, it's a seed. So it's an awesome food for anyone who is gluten intolerant, has celiac, or is sensitive to gluten. So quinoa is a really awesome thing that you can use. And how we make quinoa is actually really simple, but it's also really easy to mess up. Trust me, I have ruined so many batches of quinoa. It's embarrassing. The husband started to give me that look like, all right, maybe we should stop making quinoa. But we found a way that works, and it's pretty exact, but we have found it to work every single time. So you're going to start with a pot, obviously, because we don't live in the Stone Age, so not cooking this over a fire, people. Oven, no, stove. So I always soak my quinoa because it is covered in a film called, I wrote this down, they're called saponins, I guess that's the word, but it can make the quinoa taste really bitter and it can make it hard to digest. So it's really good to soak your quinoa. It's recommended to soak it for 6 to 8 hours, but let's be serious. Who knows 6 to 8 hours if they're going to have quinoa before they have quinoa? It's not possible all the time in real life to soak your quinoa that often. So I've just been soaking mine for an hour and I'm okay with that. And it works for me. So I just soak it in glass because I like glass. And I will strain it now. This is a mesh strainer. Trust me, you do not want to use a normal strainer. Just trust me on that one. If you don't, just don't use it. Just buy a mesh strainer. They're very, very fine. Obviously, you can tell because you can't see them. But you can just find something like this on Amazon or Bed Bath & Beyond or something like that. So I'm going to just strain it really quick. And then I just put that directly into my pot. And yeah, and so then the ratio for cooking quinoa is 1 to 1.5 cups of water. So you'll have 1 cup of quinoa to 1.5 cups of water. Don't mind my dog in the background. Quinoa just gets her so excited she can't help but bark. So I like my quinoa a little bit on the dry side, so I like to do 1 to 1.5 cups of quinoa steps. We're trying to film here. So I do 1.5 cups of water and just on the scant side because I like my quinoa kind of dry and a little bit fluffy. So you'll put that on the stove and you'll turn it to high, bring it to a boil. It'll be covered, bring it to a boil, and then once it's boiling, turn it to low heat and let it just sit on low for 17 minutes. And then when you got to that point, just turn off the heat, fluff it with a fork, and let it sit for a couple more minutes to steam. And I promise you, you'll have perfect quinoa. And quinoa is awesome because you can eat it as a side. You can eat it for your main course. You can add it You can make it into a quinoa bowl, so you can load it with different vegetables, meat, whatever you like to eat, and it's an awesome way to get in nutrient dense food. So if I can do it, you can do it.